Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 81. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the power of communication, why it's important, and how to ultimately master it. And you're going to have some homework because you're going to have to practice this, as I am and as everyone else that's going to communicate, because it's so essential to every single thing that we do in life. There's a huge misconception that just because you're a public figure or you're in sales, or maybe someone is an entrepreneur where they have to communicate a lot, that they're the only ones that need to be great at communication. But if you want to have good relationships, you want to date the right person, heck, you even want to get upgraded at your hotel or upgraded to first class when you're traveling, you have to become a great communicator. You could have the greatest idea ever, and if you or someone else doesn't have the ability to persuade and communicate it to a public audience, then it's never going to succeed. So some people, many times we're told growing up that, oh, he's just great at communicating, or oh, he's just always been a little shy. The first thing that I want you to do before I break down how to become a better communicator and how to improve very quickly over the next month or so is to stop telling yourself that you're shy, that you get nervous, that you get anxious, that you worry if people are judging you. Don't ever utilize that tone again. And the reason why I'm saying that is not because it just feels good, but when you're every single day telling yourself over and over again that you're not good at something, your brain is just going to believe it. It's like the metaphor where elephants in the circus early on, they'll put a rope around their leg. And they're a small elephant, they're a baby at the time, and so they don't move. But then when they grow to full size, they can put that same tiny rope, which a full grown elephant could easily break, and everything around it. And the elephant will think that it cannot move because that's all that its brain's been taught. It's the same thing. If someone that you grew up with, or maybe a teacher or family member told you weren't good at speaking, or you get anxious, or you're not good at communicating, you eventually just start to believe it. And so what I want you to start doing is telling yourself you're great at communicating, telling yourself you're confident so many times that your brain just starts to kind of change and think differently and view yourself differently. That's just the basics. Like, let's change that narrative that's in your head. Next is, why is communication so important? Well, everything that you want in life is on the other side of communication. And it's important that if you want to live the life that you really, really want, and you want to help people, you want to create a better life, whether it's in your finances, your relationships, and your family, then you're going to have to become better at communicating. And communicating, I consider 4 to 5 different ways to actively communicate really well. And most people just assume it's the way that someone speaks. We all know someone that's great at speaking, but isn't great at listening. Or maybe they can say the right thing, but they say it at the wrong time. Or they don't have the right tonality, or it just comes across the wrong way. And then we also have seen and know of the people that it's like everything they say it just hits home. They're so well spoken. They know when to say the right thing. They know when to be quiet. And this is something that we all have to actively improve. I still tell, for example, my brother Reagan accidentally started adding an extra filler word when he was speaking. He started saying the word, So if we were going out to eat, he'd go, yeah, the barbecue place. And he would add it. And because me and him worked so closely together, because he works in the operations sides of the company, I would start picking that up. And I never utilized that verbiage, but then I accidentally started saying it. So me and him did this exercise that every time we were talking to each other, if I or him used that filler word, we would stop and literally repeat the entire sentence without that filler word. While it was annoying to have to do that, we were training our speaking patterns to eliminate it, because I didn't want to be given this podcast or on TV or getting interviewed, or heck, just speaking out in public with so many different filler words. We use words like, about, we hesitate. Instead, we can focus and practice on speaking with clarity and eliminate all of those little words that fill the sentence when we're not thinking clearly. And this takes practice. And this is something that to this day I work on every single day because I know the importance of it. Okay, so let's break down how to become a better communicator. Okay, number one is conviction and confidence. In my opinion, when it comes to just actually speaking to an audience or trying to persuade or push an idea, this is the most important. People feel what you're saying. Hearing it is one thing, but actually feeling that confidence and that conviction and that certainty is everything. I can always tell this because I've trained hundreds of sales reps, so I'm very, very familiar with what works when people are speaking a certain way versus they don't. And one of the most important things from a leadership perspective when you're training a sales team or you're working with someone that is a speaker that's going to be speaking to a large audience is making sure that they believe what they're speaking about. You can't fake energy. And if deep down you don't believe what you're talking about, the customer, the audience, or the listener is going to feel that. And so when you have conviction, think about something that you are just so passionate about. And this is why I don't believe that certain people can't just suddenly become good at speaking. Because you could take someone that's shy and doesn't like talking to someone, and let's say they're just obsessed with video games. You ask them about video games, they're going to light up. Their energy, their excitement is going to you can just feel it. And then they're going to be so excited and certain, confident about every single thing that they're talking about. The reason is because they're passionate about it. So when you're speaking about things that you're passionate about, it's very easy to feel the conviction that you have. The key is when you're trying to persuade a large audience, or even you're going about your day-to-day, like I said, you're checking into a hotel, you're traveling, you're calling an Uber or a taxi cab to get somewhere. The way that you present yourself, while it's subtle and while it just seems like it's a no big deal moment, it's now teaching the world and the rest of every person that you come across how to treat you, what respect to give you. And that's done, the bulk of it, subconsciously through the way that they perceive you. You can see the difference of this based off of the confidence that someone has, the conviction that they speak in, and even just the body language. And so what I want you to start doing is eliminate the stuttering or the hesitancy when you're speaking. Now, this doesn't have to be when you're trying to pitch this big idea or you're trying to close a deal or you're at the job interview. I want you to start practicing this when you're living your everyday life. You stop at the gas station, you go out for dinner, you grab drinks with some friends, or you're just getting a taxi cab or an Uber. I want you to be certain. So if they ask you a question, hey, where are you going? We're going to Main Street. What does that show? It shows that you're nervous, you're a little anxious in the moment, and the person picks up on that. Instead, just say, hey, we're going to 1450 Main Street. Thank you. Hey, where are you guys from? Oh, nice. How long have you lived in New York? And just start a free-flowing conversation. And I want you to start practicing communicating confidently with people that you come across, that if you did the weirdest thing ever, not only would it not matter because you're never going to see them again, but they don't know you. You're probably never going to see them again. So what's fun is you can practice with these random people where it doesn't really matter because they're not going to see you again and you're not going to see them again. And you can start improving your communication styles. Now, what I want you to do, and I don't want you to get all anxious about this, but I want you to just start noticing the way people respond to you based off of the current energy that you feel. I taught this to my sales reps, some of my best sales reps, and it changed the way they look at it, and I had the same experience. If you're really anxious trying to get a deal and you're in a hurry and you're behind, I said, do y'all notice that week how the people you're trying to persuade to actually buy the product and service, how they start acting? And then they're like, they're always short on time. They got to go places. They're busy. They're all over the place. And I said, how do people respond and treat you, including the people that don't buy? How do they act when you just close 2 or 3 deals or 4 deals that week, which in my industry is a lot? And they're like, they're nice, they're respectful, they're calm. Why is that? Because communication is not just verbal. It's not just body language. It's not just tonality, which those three are huge, and we're going to break down them in detail. But it's the conviction, the confidence, and the energy that you possess. You got to deep down be so confident in who you are as a person that you're not trying to convince everybody. You just believe what you believe. And if they disagree, then that's cool. It's no big deal. And when you have that non-attachment style to communication, people are going to become more open to what you're talking about. And even if you're just shooting the shit and having a nice conversation, they're going to be more receptive to you as a person, and you're going to ultimately get more things out of life. Okay? Number 2, tonality. Tonality is the secret to communication. Do you see how I just said that? I didn't say tonality is the secret to communication. Because if I said that, it would have just gone right over your head. What did I do? I emphasized the word so your brain would better process it. I said tonality is the key to communication. So even if right now in that moment you were checking your phone or you're writing some notes or you were just turning around and listening to someone, or you're cleaning the house while you're listening to this, your brain would have picked up that short little tone where I emphasize that specific word, which would make you actually focus on it more. So you need to emphasize the words that you want people's brain to process. And the way that you utilize certain tonalities is going to teach the listener how to feel. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. Oddly, when you speak in a quieter tone, it creates a sense of trust. Have you ever had a serious conversation, or even more so a conversation that you're having with your closest confidant, meaning somebody that just really trusts you and respects you, and the same vice versa with you, and you're telling them something that no one else is going to know? You're a little quieter. You're more calm. You're a little bit direct, but you say things a little bit more subtle. Think about if we're at a restaurant and someone's doing something crazy across the room. You'll lean over and go, "What is that guy doing?" Like, "I don't know." "You see that guy?" Like, "Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's doing." We're all talking a little bit quieter. We're all picking up on it. It's because we trust each other. We're telling something to someone that we usually wouldn't tell other people. When you have a serious tone, well, you could say something like, "Look, I need to have this done by 4:00. So if I'm trying to convince and persuade a team that we need to have a sense of urgency and do it, and it's really important that we finish it by 3:00, and I'm like, "Hey guys, yeah, we just have it done by 3:00. Even though I wanted to have it done at 3:00, what did my tone say? That, yeah, if you don't, it's no big deal. So my tone didn't match my messaging. And that's why it's so important is, how are you saying what you're saying? If you want to be polite and courteous, you could say, "Hey, John, do you mind grabbing me a cup of water real quick?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, no problem." But if I go, "John, grab me a cup of water," he's like, all right, damn. See how I said the same tone, but it came across completely different. And oftentimes where we go wrong is we have the right messaging, but we have the wrong tonality match behind it. And you have to be so good at this. And you almost have to become so good at this and master it so much that you do this subconsciously without even noticing. And I know as far as sales, it took me almost a year to truly figure this out. I mean, just mastering my craft to really figure out, how do I need to sound? You see, like right there, I dropped my tone. You just do it instinctively. And early on, I'll see this with sales reps and with business people, is our sales reps, for example, they'll go through a boot camp where they have to memorize a script. So they'll say a certain script to where the tone is the same way the entire time. And they're talking about tonality, and it sounds like this. And they really like becoming, see how that sounds? It's monotone. Your brain almost kind of blurs out what they're saying, and it's almost like background noise. You got to emphasize and change your tonality so the listener can pick up what you're trying to say and can feel the way that you want them to feel. See how I did that? That's the difference of tonality. And that's how you start moving and persuading your audience to feel the way that you want them to feel. All right? So number 3, Becoming an active listener. Communication is nothing without listening to the other person and listening to your audience and picking up on their body language, their facial reactions, and what they're actually saying. The most important thing when it comes to communication and listening is listening to what they mean, not listening to what they say. Words are, in most cases, a facade. What I mean by that is it's a tip of the iceberg, I would say, of what they actually feel and what they actually mean. If people were just truthful all the time, it would probably hurt our feelings. It would probably shock you what people mean. I'll give you an example. Like last night, I was at dinner, and I was with some family and some friends, and someone leans over, goes, "How are you guys feeling? Are y'all a little tired?" And you could see his eyes were a little watery, like he was worn out, and he was kind of sitting there, and you notice he wasn't talking a lot the last couple minutes. What was he saying? "Hey guys, I'm really tired. I'm ready to go home, but I'll stay out longer if y'all really want to." So I replied, I said, "I'm about ready to. Let's go ahead and close up the tab and we can call it a night." And everyone, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that." But if I was not actively listening to what he was saying, I could have been like, "No, I want to stay out longer." And he would have been like, "Oh, okay." And he would have probably waited 20 or 30 minutes and be like, "Hey guys, I think I'm probably going to call it a night." And he wouldn't have felt heard. And so we have to listen to what they mean, not what they say. I'll give you another example. When we're in appointments or meetings, if someone says, "Hey Grant, how long have you been in the industry?" The way they said that was, they kind of like me, they're interested, and they seem like, you seem sharp. Just the tonality says that. And I go, "Oh, I've been about 4 years." But if they say the same thing in this tone and they go, "Hey, how long have you been in the industry again?" What type of tone is that? A skeptic tone. They're like, this guy seems new. It doesn't seem like he knows what he's talking about. When you hear that, you as the other person, you go, "I've been in 4 years. I've handled X amount of accounts. I've worked with this brand, this brand, this brand." And so really kind of what we're here to do is really just take a look at y'all's business, what y'all are doing, and really see if it's going to be a good fit. Which is me saying, shut the F up. I know what I'm doing. And that's why you have to respond and listen to what the person actually means. And you do so by hearing their tonality and watching their body language. When someone's closed off and they have their arms crossed, or their legs are facing the other way, or they keep looking away, it's because they're either nervous or they don't trust you or the situation that they're in. The key is making people feel so comfortable, and do this by not being judgmental. Don't go in there trying to force yourself into the room. There's times to do that maybe when you're the speaker or you're running the room or you're running the meeting, and that's another conversation. We can talk about that another time. But if you're in a big group, it's okay to be a little bit more relaxed. Kind of form and mold yourself into that room. And when you kind of match the vibration of the room and you match the energy of the room, what you're going to start seeing is people start telling you more of what they're actually feeling. I used to utilize this heavy in recruiting, is we would have one of our managers do the first round interview. And I would specifically have this one manager that was not like the normal cookie cutter managers that you would see on a movie. He was cool. He would cuss a lot of times. He would shoot the shit. He's like, "What's up, man?" So like, "Man, why the hell you want to get in solar?" That's how he would talk to the recruit. And the reason why we had him do that, and one, he was just naturally good at it, but two, I'd coach him to do that, is because I wanted to figure out what was that actual person really thinking. And what they would do is they would tell him more than you would normally would in a interview because they thought he was cool. They thought he was like a big brother type of guy or just a friendly type of dude that, I'll tell him he's cool. But what happened is we actually got to see who they really were. We got to see their actual personality. And then, because the problem is, if someone like myself, which when I'm actually working can be more serious at times, there's other times I'm more relaxed. But if we had a more serious manager, the problem is we would get this cookie cutter Miss America answers that you always hear in interviews. And the problem is you wouldn't know who the hell you're dealing with. So you could end up making a ton of mishires because they're just sitting there playing chess with you, acting like they're super professional or acting like they really want this job, but in reality, they just need one. And we don't know that they're actually interested. You do this by actually breaking their guard down. Okay. 4 is mirroring. All right. Mirroring, you can do this through your words, but the best way, in my opinion, to do this is through your body language. Now, what's interesting about mirroring, and this is kind of a small exercise that I want you guys to do. Next time you're at a restaurant, I want you to kind of survey the room, look around, and pay attention to a table that has maybe been eating for a little bit, or they've been there for longer than 10 or 15 minutes. And I want you to notice that both people, let's say it's someone on a date or maybe even a group, they'll start, let's say the person that's sitting on the left takes a sip of water. The person on the other side is going to start doing the exact same thing. If one person puts their arm up like this, suddenly they'll just naturally put their arm up as well. People naturally mirror people. And you'll notice that they'll start leaning, their body language will do the same thing. And you can try this. Let's say one of you guys go on a date this week. I want you at first to kind of just mirror the body language of the person, right? One, this is going to make them feel a little bit more comfortable because when you're looking at a mirror of yourself, you naturally trust you. Just the way humans are. So when you match their body language, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. And then about 5 to 10 minutes in, I want you to kind of adjust the way that you're sitting. Maybe just, for example, you could maybe scoot up a little bit, put your arm up, cross your legs. Or kind of scoot back in your chair and kind of lean back like this. Do something that adjusts the current way that you guys are mirroring each other. And I want you to watch what the other person does. Within about 5 to 10 seconds, they're going to match your exact body language. When you see that happen, that is a sign that you two have mutual rapport and respect in that moment. Same thing if you're in a meeting. As soon as you see their body language adjust to yours, that means that y'all have mutual respect and rapport. And at that moment, after that deal is done or after that meeting is done, the more confident person will win because there's mutual respect. And you can do this very subtly. And the reason why I think this is important, and I don't want you guys to become robots because I don't, and two, I'm not out like analyzing the room or analyzing the person I'm with and trying to make my body language look like them. Like, don't be weird. I don't think about this when I'm out. But a lot of times I'll just do this so naturally. And it's not because I'm trying to get something from them. The reasoning for me is I want them to feel comfortable. And each audience and each person that you're with, they're going to have a different personality. They're going to have different anxieties, different worries. And it's so important as a great communicator to be respectful of the people that you are communicating with, hanging out with, doing business with, that they feel comfortable and you're receptive to, their thoughts, their needs, whatever the case may be, and the same vice versa. And you do this by knowing who you're dealing with. There's certain times, I know certain types of groups of people that, for example, in the Middle East, Russia, India, their natural instinct when they're doing deals is to negotiate like crazy. In America, it's some like that, but not too much. So I know that when I'm doing business with them, I'm very brash and upfront early on because I want them to know that they can't get stuff out of me. And I'll be really firm. Sometimes I'll even be a little rude. And then about 10 to 15 minutes in, I'll gain their respect. And they're like, you know what, I like you, man. Where are you from? And we'll hit it off and they'll start serving me stuff. They'll start buying me drinks. They'll start being respectful. And they're the coolest people ever. That's just how they do business. So there's times I'm more brash, I'm more direct, I'm more firm. There's other times that if a person you're meeting with or having dinner with is a little nervous, maybe just be a little bit more relaxed. Be a little bit more open in your body language. Give them more space. And ask kind of more softer questions and maybe lower your tone. And just say, oh, that's interesting. It's like, what do you like about this? And just hear them out and be a little bit more calm. Matching that vibe and be a little bit more subtle will make them feel more comfortable. But like we were talking about earlier, the guy that isn't good at communicating but it loves video games, you ask him about video games, what is he going to do? He's going to light up. He's going to get excited. Why? Because that's what that person's passionate about. And that's what you have to start finding when you're communicating with people. If you're listening to them, they will tell you what they mean and what they actually feel. But if you respond to what they say, you're going to be off the bulk of the time because people almost never say what they mean. But if you listen deep enough, there's an underlying message that you're missing that you can utilize to better understand them and ultimately just become a better communicator. So you can close more deals, you can grow your business, and ultimately just have better and more meaningful friendships and relationships. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As always, you guys can find me on all my social media channels at Grant Mitt. If you guys are listening to this on Apple or Spotify, you guys can see all the video versions on my YouTube. And for anybody that's a listener on YouTube, you can actually listen to all the previous episodes that aren't on video format on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But I hope you guys have an incredible week. It's so great talking to you guys again, and we'll see you guys again for episode 82.